Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hobart begins now.
Good evening. A quiet hamlet in the state's northeast has become the command centre in the desperate search for missing teenager Cheyenne Lee Tatnall. More than 150 police are scouring the area, the largest operation of its kind Northern Tasmania has ever seen.
A 3-month investigation enters a significant new phase.
Decimal 598. Copy.
Police moving the search for Cheyenne to Nabola, almost an hour away from where she was last seen.
It's just as a result of the investigation, the inquiries we've made, the information that's come from the public. We're acting on that information in this specific area.
160 search and rescue personnel are combing more than 50 square kilometres of bush and forestry land near Scottsdale. Volunteers on horseback using height to their advantage in the area's dense undergrowth.
We're really thankful for everybody's support, the community's help, and especially the volunteers that give us the extra resources to help us.
Tasmania Police also enlisting the help of federal and interstate agencies in the hunt.
The Australian Federal Police and New South Wales Police experts, including a cadaver dog, all coming together and travelling to northeast Tasmania in a search for answers.
Police divers have been joined by a specialist cadaver dog as the search also returns to the North Esk River. As investigators face the grim possibility, Cheyenne might not be found alive.
It's probably fair to say that with the passage of time, we're being pragmatic about it, and we understand that the chances of Cheyenne being found alive reduce as every day goes by.
Cheyenne was last seen on the evening of Sunday, April 30, near the North Esk River. She was walking along Henry Street towards Ravenswood, but never made it. Months of searching have left little to go on.
I think everybody out there has a fair idea of the grief that a parent must be feeling in this situation.
Police promising they'll go the distance in their hunt for the truth.
We will not rest. We will not rest until we have those answers, and today is an example of the effort that we're prepared to go to find those answers.
And we're now joined by reporter Annie Green with more details on the Widescale search. Hi there, Annie. What have police found so far?
Lou, it's been a massive day for police and volunteer crews, both out at Nabola and here near the North Esk River. A specialist cadaver dog joined divers today in the hopes of finding a trace of Cheyenne. But so far, crews at both sites have turned up empty-handed. Tomorrow, it's hoped the cadaver dog, as well as ground-penetrating radar technology on loan from the AFP, will be able to join the efforts out near Scottsdale. They'll be assisting more than 100 Tasmania police recruits who've been called up to boost the number of boots on the ground there. Of course, with next week marking 3 months since Cheyenne Lee vanished, here's hoping they can find the answers for her family. Lou?
Yes, here's hoping, very much hope they find something. Thanks for that, Annie Green. To other news, and vultures are circling the Dorset Council with a full-blown investigation launched into allegations of serious misconduct. Staff and councillors accused of bending the rules and disrespecting community members are now walking a tightrope.
Dorset, accused of being Tasmania's Cowboy Council.
I'm announcing today that I'm establishing a board of inquiry.
On this council's agenda, allegations of systematic and widespread non-compliance, a collapse in good governance, conflicts of interest from senior officials, even retribution against people who disagree with the mayor or general manager, with dissidents effectively bullied through excessive fines, plus a tolerance for playing by its own rules, most notably when the council illegally built a depot on Crown land at Derby.
It hasn't taken until now to get the ball rolling. The first complaints that the Director of Local Government received were received in 2020. There have been numerous complaints made over the course of that time.
Complaints which have come from councillors and members of the public.
Retributive behaviour, bias in some of the decision-making and actions of the council.
A bit like getting council approval, the inquiry won't happen overnight. It'll take around 7 months, and the government's weighing up whether to suspend the accused councillors and staff while it takes place. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Disgraced businessman John Wayne Millwood has given evidence regarding his bankruptcy, which has left his victim without any damages awarded 2 years on. The convicted pedophile denied he was aware of legal advice, which warned he was vulnerable to a compensation claim.
Convicted of historical child sex abuse in 2016, John Wayne Millwood returns to court. His victim survivor was awarded more than $5 million in damages, but hasn't seen a cent after Mr. Millwood declared bankruptcy. His move to divest assets around the time of his sentencing now under scrutiny, telling the federal court he wanted everything tied up as soon as possible, after being told he would likely die in prison due to terminal illness. Asked by lawyers acting on behalf of his victim when he knew his legal team were told he could face a compensation claim, Mr. Millwood said it was 12 months ago. Questioned whether he knew earlier, he strongly refuted it, saying no, never. Asked if his lawyer looked for instructions, he said no, not at all. When questions about separate conversations with his accountant, Mr. Millwood again said he wanted assistance getting his affairs in order. Separate legal advice regarding the sale of properties was also scrutinised. The court told the accountant was warned Mr. Millwood could be vulnerable to a civil claim. When asked if he was told, Mr. Millwood responded, "No, I've not ever been aware of that." When asked what he would have done if he knew, Mr. Millwood said that was a hypothetical. The matter resumes later this year. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's new Health Minister is pledging to listen and learn from frontline workers in his new role. Beginning work on his mammoth ministry today, Guy Barnett says his focus is primary health care.
Finding Tasmania's health fix is no small task, but Guy Barnett's not afraid.
People who know me know I love a challenge, and in this space there's plenty of opportunity.
His first full day as Health Minister spent touring hospitals and meeting with stakeholders.
The first biggest challenge is for me to get out and listen and learn, meet with the frontline workers.
With health outcomes steadily improving, he's ready to continue reform and raring to take up one fight.
The Australian government must do more. They are responsible for support of primary health, for the support of our GPs.
Yesterday's cabinet reshuffle was about a reset, meant to dispel any election rumours. But Labor is still beating the drums of war.
I hope that we can continue to engage over the next 12 months, if we've got that long until the next election.
Presenting policy to a room full of business and industry leaders.
I think there's a growing sense of uncertainty about the direction of the current government. Business community is looking to Labor.
Pledging to turbocharge renewable energy projects, support tertiary education and invest in shared infrastructure for stalled housing developments.
The solution is relatively simple. It is simply saying that whoever moves first isn't required to pay for the full cost.
The battle of ideas heating up, but who knows when it will come to the boil. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
An alleged privacy breach has prompted new calls for an independent inquiry into the Office of Racing Integrity. Independent Christy Johnston contacted the office after receiving serious allegations about the welfare of thoroughbred horses. The accused then phoning her directly after being notified of the complaint. She's alleging ORI outed her identity to them.
It is little wonder that whistleblowers and people concerned about animal welfare are reluctant to come forward and disclose what they know about animal welfare breaches in the industry.
Minister Felix Ellis, who's recently taken over the racing portfolio, says he sought advice from the department on what improvements can be made to protect the identities of people providing information. The number of groups throwing their weight behind a push to decriminalise personal use of drugs is growing. The Australian Lawyers Alliance and the Health and Community Services Union are among those arguing drugs should be treated like a health issue, not a justice one.
There was a report done. This is not about legalising drugs. This is about removing criminal penalties and giving people an opportunity to get the health care and treatment that they need.
We certainly won't be making legal illegal drugs, so we can rule that one out.
Last June, the ACT agreed to decriminalise small amounts of the most commonly used and best understood illicit drugs. The Tourism Industry Council is calling for state and federal governments to give greater support to one of Tasmania's most popular destinations. It's also Amy Hill's first major outing as CEO, and she hopes to make her mark by growing tourism in the state.
Securing the future of one of Tasmania's biggest tourist attractions.
We know that Cradle is a huge demand generator for this region, but we also know that we need to manage its future sustainably.
The state's Tourism Industry Council is partnering up with local body West by Northwest, pushing for governments at all levels to support the Cradle Mountain Master Plan.
So Cradle Mountain is a world-class tourism destination, and it is important that we have a long-term sustainable plan for our mountain so generations to come can enjoy the beautiful mountain.
With visitor numbers expected to grow in the next few years, both groups say it's important all stakeholders get the plan right.
It's really important to have this plan in place, to have a sustainable long-term plan for Cradle Mountain.
We look forward to those discussions with the federal government and ongoing engagement with the federal government.
The council's new CEO, Amy Hills, has hit the ground running since replacing former tourism boss Luke Martin. She's keen to work with the government to sustainably grow the sector over the next 10 years.
We really need to have tangible outcomes from that, from what government will do, what industry will do, and that's all about making a positive impact.
Mark Zeta, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian students are getting a taste of all things hospitality, learning a range of new skills. The crash course hoping to light a fire in the next generation of workers to fill chronic shortages which are plaguing the industry.
Shaking up the future of the hospitality sector, Northern students offered a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to make the perfect brew.
It would be a really good experience to learn some more hospitality skills that I can carry out in the workplace.
Today is just a new opportunity for something different.
The Tasmanian Hospitality Association's 2-day student showcase serving up some useful tips for the industry's next generation.
When they go out and they try to get a job in one of the, a bar or a restaurant or a cafe, that they've got a little bit of a base knowledge that helps them get their foot in the door there.
Learning the do's and don'ts in a more controlled environment.
Good to learn when it's not as busy, because at work you're learning when it's busy and it's hard.
It's the latest move to save an industry plagued by staffing shortages.
Hospitality will take anybody at the moment. We're crying out for staff.
Hoping to ignite a spark that will one day take their passion from the classroom to the kitchen. Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
A violinist dubbed the Harry Styles of classical music has touched down in Tasmania for the first time since 2019. Benjamin Beilman will grace his audience with the sounds of $1 million instrument, so valuable that it requires its own passport.
Well known at just 33 years old, Benjamin Beilman has spent majority of his life fine-tuning his violin technique.
I decided when I was about, I think 10 years old, I remember walking into the kitchen and telling my mom that I think I want to do this professionally.
The talented musician is in Hobart as part of a 3-week tour down under, performing with the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra for one night only this Friday.
We tried several times during COVID to get him back. His debut here was pretty legendary, to be honest. He's forged this amazing relationship with Giordano Bellincampi, who's the conductor for this week.
He'll be using a violin made in 1740 that's since been passed down through some of the greats.
I'm skeptical of sort of mysticism and spirituality at times, but there is something undeniable about the idea that you can feel these players in this instrument.
Benjamin touring the Apple Isle in between practices.
I do most of my sightseeing through food, so it's mostly about restaurants.
Around 200 tickets are still available via the orchestra's website. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Hobart Town Hall has been transformed into an intergalactic sensory space station. The Elevate exhibition features live performances and art from more than 80 creators of all abilities. This year's theme is Absolutely Everybody to promote inclusivity.
How do you feel when you're performing?
If Andy is here, I'm going to say, I feel like to rock all night long.
The event will run until Saturday with a low sensory hour between 1 and 2 on Friday. Most itsy-bitsy spiders climb up the water spout, but for Launceston's Simon Fern, a new species climbed straight into his line of sight. The QV Mag worker noticed the shine of the new spider's eye when he was light-trapping moths in Beachford in the northeast. He named the discovery after QV Mag's collector of 45 years, Judy Rainbird.
Well, as long as civilisation exists, there will always be a spider named after Judy.
No, not scared of spiders at all. I'm hoping having that photo around will desensitise a lot of people to say they really are quite handsome and nothing to be afraid of.
The spiders are much smaller in real life, roughly 10 millimetres wide. The actual spider has hitched a ride all the way across the Nullarbor to be verified by experts in Perth.
Maximum temperatures were mostly above average again today, with mild conditions experienced across the state. Today, Hobart 16 degrees, 17 as expected in Launceston, Devonport and Burnie both 15. St Helens and Maria Island also 17, Bushy Park 16, Flinders Island, Wynyard and Grove 15, Friendly Beaches 14, King Island and Strawn 13, 9 for Laiwini. The satellite shows overcast conditions for much of Tasmania today. Low cloud covered the majority of the state, ahead of high cloud that crossed during the afternoon. A frontal cloud band moved to the south of Tasmania. Another frontal cloud band lies over WA, while a low lies to the south of WA. Tomorrow, the strong high pressure system is expected to lie just off the northwest coast of New South Wales and extends over eastern Australia. A cold front lies over western South Australia, while an associated low is moving well to the south of the Bight. North to northwesterly winds 15 to 25 knots about the west, grading to 10 to 20 knots about the east. Winds increasing up to 30 knots about the west, south and eastern waters. The west and south can expect southwesterly swells up to 4 metres. A strong wind warning has been issued for the entirety of the state tomorrow. Partly cloudy conditions in the south, Hobart and New Norfolk 16, 15 for Cygnet. Launceston and Devonport 14, a possible shower for Campbelltown. High chance of showers for the west tomorrow, 14 for Burnie, 15 for Strawn and Smithton. Partly cloudy in the east, St Helens 15, 16 is the top for Swansea and 13 for Fingal. Looking now to the 3-day forecast. Thursday, light showers about the north and west becoming more frequent in the evening. Morning fog and frost continues, otherwise fine. Friday, showers mainly about the north and west, easing and contracting to the west in the afternoon. We can also expect fresh and gusty northwesterly winds. Saturday, showers about the north and west, otherwise mainly fine. Taking a look to the mainland tomorrow, partly cloudy in Alice Springs and Darwin. Showers easing in Perth, cloudy, clearing in Canberra. And currently in Hobart, it's cloudy, 12 degrees, partly cloudy in Launceston and mostly cloudy in Devonport. Lou, we are certainly enjoying those mild conditions across the state today.
We certainly are. Thank you for that, Kaya. That's all your news for now. I'll be back later on with updates. Thanks for joining us. Have a lovely evening. Good night.